Welcome to this week's podcast episode. And for the first time, actually, I have a guest with me today. I've got Vicky Price, who is a coach, and she's a client of mine. So we are going to talk about her experience of coaching, her experience of working with me, the fears that she had to overcome in investing in herself and all of that kind of stuff. So we're just going to get straight into it. I don't edit these, so if we fuck up, we're just going to carry on. We're going to carry on and deal with it, aren't we, Vicky?
Yeah.
Because that's how I roll. And I was just laughing with Vicky because my period's due and my boobs are hurting. So if you see me, if you're watching me on YouTube and I am cuddling myself a little bit, that's why. They're just today. I think we can all appreciate that. So Vicky, start by telling us in the ways of blind date who you are and where you came from.
Oh, okay. Well, you know my name, and I live in Bristol, and with four children, four of my five children. I have five children, one in London, four in Bristol. I spent most of my adult life living in London, and I moved back here a few years ago and started my business in marketing. And now I'm coaching. I became a coach. I trained a couple of years ago now. I'm just doing some more training at the moment. And I'm kind of juggling both jobs at the moment. So I do marketing for small businesses and I'm a coach as well. And I'm looking to, over the long term, transition into just coaching. So because that's what I enjoy doing most of all.
Yeah, brilliant. And tell me what brought you, like what initiated coaching with me in the first place? Because we've been working for a year together now, haven't we? Tell us a bit about how you found me and what you thought about, right, that initiated the consult.
I can't remember if I was seeing a coach before you. I don't think I was. I think I hadn't, I've had coaching over the years in different capacities for different things, like business coaching, working with a community in Newport where there's some coaching involved in that. But I hadn't had anything that really touched on the personal side of my life for a long time. And although everything's great, well, everything was great when I met you, I think. But suddenly things started shifting in my life towards kind of the things I wanted to happen started happening. And I remember thinking, oh my God, this is, everything's happening that I've been kind of working towards all at once. And it felt a little bit like being on a roller coaster, and I remember speaking to you and saying, I usually go and have coaching when like the shit hits the fan, when things are really bad. And you said, well, how would it be if, to have coaching, invest in yourself when things were good? And that really resonated with me. And that's why I chose to work with you, because I was managing a lot of things all at once. And I just wanted to make sure I didn't fall off the cliff, that I didn't kind of go down or get overwhelmed by it all, that I could manage it all smoothly over a year. And then I thought, well, what happens if I'm in a really good place and I have coaching and I get to a really great place? I kind of up level again, rather than what I've done before is like, oh my God, it's really hard. I'm really overwhelmed or I'm really stressed out. And then I get coaching to bring me back up. But I was kind of up already. So
Yeah.
that's been really a really good journey all year.
Mm, brilliant. And I think that's quite important, isn't it? Because I think a lot of people think of life coaching a little bit along the lines of like therapy and counseling. We only need it if we're in a bad place.
Mhm.
But actually, I think the opposite is true. It's like, no, you're good and you can be great. Like it's not necessarily, I mean, it can be if you're in a bad place, but yeah, from going from good to great, I think it's just really powerful gift to give ourselves. So I'm curious, what was your biggest fear going into sort of that investment?
I think the investment itself, I'm at the moment, I'm my daughter's an adult now. I was going to say I'm the only adult in the house, but I'm the main, it's one income household, and and so investing in myself is not, it takes a lot of thought, like, can I afford this? Is this a good investment for me? And And it was, and someone said to me recently, it's like the bigger your game, or the higher someone gets in their career, the more likely they are to have coaching, because and it just felt to me like, well, this is the right thing to do. It's I can't let things collapse. I can't let things fall apart. I can't let my business, I can't take my eye off the ball or anything. And so it kind of especially weekly coaching with you, which was, that really kept me, it just kept me kind of, when things, because beginning of the year, it's always a bit dark and cold, and it can get a little bit like, especially this year. And it just kept me up. So when things were a little bit like uncertain, I knew what was going on for me,
Mm.
you know.
So what do you think was the impact of you giving yourself permission to have that hour every week? Because I know a lot of people are like, I can't give up an hour. I've got my kids, I've got my job. Like, I haven't got time to give myself an hour. How are
Well,
you?
luckily, because of the way I've been trained as well, I just know that's bullshit.
Yes.
We can always find time. And I was there a few years ago. I was that person who was running around all the time without time for anything. And actually, nothing's changed in terms of what I do and have to get done. All right, my kids are a little bit older, but nothing's, I still have to, clean the house, do all the domestics, drive the kids around, shopping, food, and my work. Yet it's all done with so much more ease and more efficiently than I used to. And so that's if you're going around saying there's never enough time, that's hiding something else. I usually find with people, it's like it's there's always time. We can find the times to do the things we want to do if we really, really want to.
Yeah.
And so that wasn't a problem actually for me. The hour a week wasn't the problem. The finances were more of the like the hour a week I really looked forward to. I'm like, it's an hour to talk about me
Yeah. Yeah.
once a week. It's like, it feels lovely. The finances were the more of the, to begin with, but then it was fine. Once I committed to it, that was fine. That wasn't even an issue. And it's committing, I think if you're running your own business, especially,
Yeah.
committing to that time and that focus is really important, because you are the main resource in your business. So you need to be in a good place. You need to not overthink things. You need to be mentally healthy to get everything done.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And I think that's a challenge that a lot of people don't quite get as like working mums. We know that we're important, like it's all, we feel like it's all on us,
Mhm.
but we don't then actually look after ourselves and nourish ourselves or put ourselves first because we're so busy looking after everybody else. But actually, when we put ourselves first, when we put, our well-being and our mental health first, we are so much more available and capable to look after our business, to look after our clients, to look after our family.
Yeah, you see it so much, because one of my clients I work with in my marketing capacity, um, that's how we talk to it's like you I got this one years ago. I suddenly realized that no one's going to come at the end of my life, no one's going to come running in, or when my kids are grown up, say, with a big award and go, well done, Vicky Price, you're the most self-sacrificing mother here. And
Yeah,
I just, what, their kids are gonna, go off and do their thing. They're gonna love us, and they're gonna be grateful, and they're also going to kind of just get on with their life, and they're not going to kind of go sit around and go, oh, my mum, she was just gave up everything. And actually, I don't want, especially my daughters,
yeah,
to follow that. I don't want them to think being a mum means giving up everything for your children. You have to live your life, have fun, go on holiday by yourself if you need to, and if you can afford to, go out, um and enjoy your work. You have to do all those things, spend time with your partner and husband and all the other things that makes your life whole, because they will just as soon as they hit the teenage years, it's all about them anyway, and they'll just go off and do their things. And my girls are lovely, and they're really supportive, and all my kids are lovely. And
yeah,
so I'm not saying they're all kind of self-obsessed, but I just think what's the point? Well, you're going to get to the end and go, oh, I'm just exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've done that for years. I have done that. I have done that where I've put everything's been about my fat children, and it still is my number one priority. But I take care of myself first now as well. And
Yeah.
I kind of learned that the hard way, but it's really important to do that.
Yeah, it really is, because we can't look after our kids if we're not looking after, if we're burnt out and stressed and miserable and snapping, and
Mm,
that's not the type of mum we want to be. So
no.
when we put ourselves first, we're calmer, we're more grounded, we've got our backs, we don't need anything from our kids. They are purely there for us to love them, even when they're being typical teenagers.
Yeah. And they get more fun. They get a fun mum as well, rather than I
Yeah,
used to say my default was pissed off. I would kind of walk around being kind of low and I'm like, oh, that's not nice for them to grow up looking,
yeah,
mum was really pissed off all the time.
yeah, yeah, that's it. And so that makes me think of something else as well, how we think we're just investing in ourselves, but actually this is an investment for the type of family unit you want to have and the type of mum you want your kids to experience. So it is for them as well.
Yeah, the type of mum, for the type of partner I can be for my partner, who I am for my clients, it's everything. It's not, that's what I liked about coaching with you. It's like we can't you don't separate out those bits of yourself. I mean, some people might be able to do this, but I'm not kind of, and we do, we're different in our different capacities, yes. But if I'm a better mum, I'm a better partner, or I'm a better kind of, coach, or I'm a better person for my marketing clients. It's like the way you coached me, it works for every area of my life.
Yeah. Yeah, brilliant. So if the answer to this question is no, this is going to be really funny. But are you glad you made that investment in yourself?
Absolutely, yeah. I wouldn't have agreed to do the podcast if I
Can
was,
you imagine? You'd be like, no, it was shit.
yeah, no, it's really shit. No, it was brilliant. It was so I'm trained in NLP, and it's very different to what you've been trained in.
Mm.
And what you picked up on in me, what I love, and you may go on to ask a question about this, I don't know, but it's the really subtle things that we don't notice that we do every day. And it seems so simple when it's pointed out. And you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I do that. And it was those things that we do in our brain that can a little bit of self-talk, or, you know, that had the biggest change effects. And
Mm.
it seems so simple, but we don't know because we're in ourselves. And even with the training I've done and the coaching I've done, there's always going to, I'm human, and there's always going to be that little voice in my head that says that tries to sabotage things
Oh,
occasionally.
yeah, yeah. I was just coaching a client just a second ago, and her thought was, "I'm rubbish." Like, yeah, but Nikki, I'm rubbish, or as if that were the fact. And it
Mm,
feels really true. Like when we have that. So mine is, I'm not clever enough. I'm not clever enough. I can't do that. I'm not clever enough. As if that were a fact.
yeah,
And I used to I would be able to give you all the evidence to prove that was true. But it's not true. And it's those tiny little, like you say, that those tiny little day-to-day shifts
yeah,
that have a huge impact. And we
yeah,
can see it in other people. I mean, you're a coach, I'm a coach, but we both need coaches in order to show us our own brain's bullshit, because in our head, we don't see it. We think that we're just telling the news, we're telling the facts,
mm,
until someone points out to you that, no, do you actually, that's not true. That's not a fact. You're like, oh,
yeah. It's crazy, isn't it?
yeah,
And I think that's what I got as well. I think that's what one thing you really made me realize, that I am human.
yeah,
Uh,
shocker.
and it gets like, ooh, it's okay to be down, or to feel shit sometimes.
Yeah,
That doesn't make me a bad coach or an insufficient person.
yeah.
I'd sometimes feel like, oh, there's something terribly wrong. If I feel low, I shouldn't feel this way. I've done enough training, I've done enough personal development, blah, blah, blah. But also to be able to be a coach, that I should be way above the rest of humanity.
Yeah.
And like, life happens and shit happens. And, whether anyone, even at the top of their game, things happen that are totally outside of our control. and we have to deal with them. And so sometimes life's going to be hard, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Um, I seem to have some illusion that I need to cope with everything with a big smile on my face, that there's, yeah, no, it just all washes off for me. Nothing's a problem. I can do anything. Um, and I think it was giving myself the permission to feel shit sometimes was actually quite, was good.
Yeah. And I think like we don't actually want to feel positive all the time. And I think that in itself is like the toxic bullshit, right?
Yeah,
That oh yeah, I should always be rainbows and daisies and like you say, let it all flow off me. And actually that's just not reality.
yeah,
There are things that we want to be frustrated about, angry about, horrified by. And learning how to manage your mind, I don't think is about always seeing the positive. There is always a positive, but for me, it's being deliberate. It's like, okay, this circumstance is happening or this situation is happening. How do I very deliberately want to feel about it? And there are some situations where we want to feel sad, we want to feel grief, we want to feel, low and that's okay. Like this work isn't about always being positive because that in itself is shit.
yeah. It's that toxic positivity, isn't it?
Yeah,
Um, and that's not, yeah. I've known people like that, and that it just, it's not true. It's not
yeah,
real.
yeah,
There are times where we have to just turn it on, where we're going into a meeting or working with a client or into networking or something, where we have to just kind of snap out of it and just go, okay. But I think what would happen with me is if I started feeling bad, I'd start like, oh my God, there's something terribly wrong. It was that my like a little thought would then lead to there's something. So it was both ways. So yes, feeling bad when it's appropriate to,
yeah,
but also not going down that spiral when there's actually nothing wrong, but
yes,
your brain's just trying to keep you safe. So then I start looking for something,
yeah,
and then that spiral of, oh yeah, there really is something wrong here. I must protect myself.
yeah,
That was the most interesting one of where my brain went when there actually wasn't anything wrong.
yeah,
But
yeah.
a little something, or something that, something that someone says that reminds you of something from the past, or a little trigger, tiny little trigger, and then a lot, a little warning sign, and then going into this spiral of creating a
Yeah,
problem when there wasn't one. And it's not something I do in a big way or do all the time, but it was noticing that was really interesting.
yeah, yeah. And then just that awareness, you start to get more control over it. Because if you're not aware, we don't know what we get to change. We don't realize we have a choice.
Yeah. So we have it that, oh, this is the truth. There really is something wrong here.
Yeah.
And then I think you made me really realize that, like naming my unconscious, my not unconscious mind,
Primal
sorry,
brain.
primal brain, yeah, and telling her to, it's all right, you can go now, was actually that would just stop the spiral, stop that pattern going. So that was really useful.
Mm.
Um, and I even used that, was it this morning or yesterday? I was walking somewhere and I think I was really tired, and a little thought, and then, like, oh, something will never happen, right? Your hopes are these, oh, that'll never happen because. So there's Rebecca, and they go, no, Vicky, that will never happen because blah, blah, blah. Because we all the reason. And I'm like, hold on a minute. Why
Yeah.
am, why am I going there?
Yeah.
I can equally create, yes, that'll happen because if so it's really interesting, isn't it? We're making up that anyway. So we might as
Yes.
well make up the good stuff, make it up for the better rather than.
Yeah.
So yeah, I catch myself all the time now, which is really useful.
Yeah. So just for any listeners that maybe haven't followed me or before, or this is their first episode, what Vicky's referring to there, where she's talking about Rebecca, is I get my clients to name their primal brain because then you can have that internal dialogue with it. We all have a negative voice in our head, and when we name it, it just enables us to detach ourselves from it. So that's what Vicky's talking about there, where she's referring to Rebecca. Mine's called Sue. So my husband's is called well, it depends on the day. Sometimes Brian, sometimes Dave. All our family have
And
names.
if anyone's listening with any of those
Yeah,
names,
yeah,
it doesn't don't make it mean anything.
yeah, that's it. Yeah. We have to make friends with these primal brains.
Yeah.
Um, so Vicky, do you want to tell us then a little bit about your coaching, who you like to coach, your method of coaching?
Yeah, so I trained is in NLP, and I'm just doing my master prac at the moment. I'm halfway through that. And so I've been coaching for just over a year. And I'm still kind of developing that business in a way of like who's my ideal client. Now I seem to attract women who are just kind of a few years younger than me, slightly behind me in their in their personal development, whatever. And it's usually quite a short period. So it's the way I do it is 6 to 8 sessions and you're done,
Mhm.
because using NLP techniques, we can get to the what's happening deep in the unconscious really quickly.
Mhm.
We don't have to talk. I could probably work with someone with very little sort of, chat, but it's because we can hear when someone's talking. I can kind of hear when they're talking what's going on. So you don't always have to talk about the problem. I can kind of, it's kind of the thing that the way we perceive the world and
Mm.
the way our map of the world is kind of, I can understand that through listening and watching someone, and then I can kind of see what they're doing to create, if they've got a problem, I can kind of usually sort of see, okay, I can see what's going on there, and then use techniques to kind of get to the root cause of that, which is usually something that happened many years ago, deep in our unconscious,
Yeah.
and clear that. And my clients have all noted, and it's so when I first experienced coaching, which is why I trained in this, it was such a profound shift. It was so transformational that I wanted to train in it, because I
Yeah.
couldn't. I was like, oh my God, I feel so different. And it's permanent. I've never gone back to how I was before that.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm a different person in lots of ways because of it. And so, but it can have that huge shift, or it can be very subtle. I was talking to a client yesterday who said, and I coached her a little while ago.
Mhm.
I noticed, I just feel different. I'm not doing the things I used to do. And so it can kind of happen over time as well. This shift of like, I don't think like that anymore. I don't speak like that anymore. I don't do those things. Well, I've got more energy. I'm more efficient. I'm not afraid, things like that. So I can deal with phobias, um, trauma, kind of lots of, I'm learning a whole load more at the moment as well. So it's we've got a lot of different techniques we can use to kind of to help clients. So at the moment I'm just open to um I'd like to coach men as well,
Yeah.
but it's usually women who come to me. So there you go. It is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? How I find that like I market and I love working with working mums, but I coach a number of men as well.
Yeah.
And my husband's the same. My husband is a coach and he markets to male police officers, but he gets most of his clients are female.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? How we just because we're not, I think when we are passionate and when we are being our authentic selves, people are attracted to that. And if they're attracted to it, then they'll come to
Yeah.
me. Yeah,
So
brilliant.
yeah, I'm working on a package, a longer term package to work with kind of business, because of my marketing skills as well. I
Yeah.
find it really hard to talk to someone about their business if I'm coaching them, not get involved in the marketing side. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of working on a longer package where for business owners, where they can, where we deal with all the shit, we get rid of all the what's stopping you first and all the kind of bits that aren't working, and then work on kind of implementing strategies to kind of grow the business. And some of that's coaching, and some of that's kind of is coaching personal, and some of it's marketing coaching as well. So I'm working on that. I haven't kind of don't know how that'll look yet. So if there's anyone who wants to be a guinea pig, then yeah, I'd be happy to
Yeah.
work with someone.
Brilliant. Because we'll put all your contact details down
Yeah,
in the, I don't know if they're classed as show notes or in the comments or where
yeah,
like in the blurb attached to this. So if anybody's listening to Vicky and it's like, oh, I like Vicky's style, then we'll make sure you can contact her
yeah.
easily.
Thank you.
I'm curious, Vicky, what would you say to the working mum who's out there who's like, I know I want to change. I know I don't quite like how I'm currently behaving or how I'm currently showing up, but I'm really frightened of making that move, of making that investment. What would you say to her?
I think I would say, like, what's it going to be like if you don't? Like, fast forward 10 years, 20 years. What's it going to be like if you don't do that now? You know, our kids grow up and we've only got ourselves, really. We've got all our friends, family, partners, everything around us. But really, when it comes down to it, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You know, I've lost a sister. I've lost, you know, shit happens. I and so we have to kind of, who do we want to be for ourselves when our kids are growing up? I mean, if you could do it's so easy to have our identity and busy ourselves with our children as mothers. What are you going to do when they've grown up? It's like you've got one life and live your best life. And there's things, I mean, what I love about life is that we just don't know what, I mean, on good and bad, we don't know what's around the corner.
Yeah.
Amazing things are around the corner as well. And so it's like, don't you want to just go after that?
Yeah.
Don't you want to have fun and enjoy yourself and just, you know, achieve the things you want to achieve? Like, how are you going to feel in 10, 20, 30 years if you haven't done any of that? And if you think it's going to be a can of worms, because some people are very scared of opening that lid, if they've never done any personal development or coaching or therapy, don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid. Your life will change for the better.
Yeah.
And it might be tough to begin, you know, sometimes it is scary,
Ah,
but
yeah.
but all changes, anything worth going after is really.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. And I'll just enhance on what you've just said by saying that yes, change is uncomfortable for the brain. It is in every single one of us. But like you just said, what if you stay the same?
Mm.
Like how uncomfortable would your life be knowing that you never actually fulfilled your true potential or you didn't quite do what you knew you were
Yeah,
meant to do? Or there's this little, for me, it was this little voice like, I have more to give the world.
yeah,
And I had no idea how I was going to achieve that. And it makes me quite emotional to think how grateful I am that myself, like 4 years ago, had the, I was going to say balls, but actually let's change that to tits. I had like the tits to get up and actually follow that little, I think I have more because would my life have been great if I hadn't? Of course. Like I would have been fine. I enjoyed my job, but oh my gosh, the my life is so much better. Like you said right at the beginning, it was good and now it's great.
yeah,
And then our great becomes good. So then we can take another step up as well. And it is scary and it is challenging. And there are times when it's really uncomfortable, but it's that that builds the self-confidence and the growth and the most amazing experience, I think.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Amazing. So is there anything else that you'd like to add, Vicky, before we wrap up our little chat today?
Uh, no, I think I'm just trying to think back to the whole year, and there's times where I've sat crying, and
Yeah.
there's times where I've just resisted and thought, no, fuck off.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And it's always been great. Every time I'm like, oh yeah, oh yeah. Ah, and you'd always ask me at the end of each session, like, what did you take away from today? And there were always one or two things that really stood out that and those things stayed with me. It wasn't like then I'd go, you know, step back. They stay with me. But it did take I think the year was good. It took a year
yeah,
to really those certain things to embed in and for that consistency to make those changes that I needed to make in and it was all in my thinking and in my, you know, approach to things.
yeah.
And and yeah, I'm really glad I did it. I'm really grateful that I met you and took that leap of faith.
Yeah, thank you. And make sure that you're thanking yourself as well because you are only here because you made that
Yeah,
choice for yourself.
I made
Yeah,
that commitment. And
amazing.
yeah, I do that now. Didn't used
Yeah.
to.
And I will also add that yes, like in your sessions, you had moments of crying and you had moments of like, fuck you. But we also had moments of laughing.
Oh
So
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it does, like, I sometimes wonder if people think that life coaching is going to be really depressing and really serious and really like, oh, but actually there are moments where it's really funny.
Oh yeah. Plenty of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Plenty of everything really.
Yeah.
And and it yeah, it was really, it really changed the way I think about things. So, and also the other bits you'd give from your experiences and books you recommended, and I, so it kind of led me down a path as well, which was like, oh yeah, let me explore this and explore this. So it's kind of, that's the thing as well. So it's you, and then the things that come, because other things that come into your world because of this experience. So it's not just me and you every week. It
Yeah.
was, I'd listen to certain podcasts, or and then that would lead me somewhere else and lead me somewhere else. So it was expansive kind of in many ways
Yeah.
outside of just those sessions. Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. Amazing. Well, thank you so much. It's been my absolute pleasure to have coached you every week for the last year. I appreciate you so much. And this isn't the end for us. I mean, we're going to be meeting in person for the first time
Yeah.
tomorrow, isn't it? It's going to be
Yeah.
bizarre because we've always had our sessions over Zoom,
Yeah.
and
So
yet tomorrow
yeah,
we get to
always
meet in
weird.
person. So I'm so excited about that. So thank you so much, Vicky. Thank you for your time today. And for everybody listening or watching, I will put Vicky's details below so you can contact her because she is lush. Total typical Bristolian.
Yeah.
Thanks, Vicky.
Thank you.